to introduce our speaker, after which we will have, what was that? Where do we go? We will have, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. We will have just a few announcements after the presentation. I don't know. Screen sharing, yes.
Nancy,
Yeah,
if Paula cares, she's the one showing now. So I don't know
Okay.
if she wants to stop her video or not.
okay, yeah, Paula, okay, did that stop? Okay, great. Okay, I'll let you go ahead.
Well, I'm excited to introduce Barbara. Some of you guys, probably most of you know her. How many people know Barbara Houston and her photos? Yay, everybody, including Barbara. That's right. So Barbara is a local photographer that works full-time in accounting at a large paper mill for over 38 years now, and spends her weekends and vacations out taking photos, which many of us have enjoyed on Facebook and wherever else she posts them. Her specialties are birds and landscapes, and she's always looking for that perfect picture. She is well known to most local birders and photographers, and was recently the president of the Colonial Nature Photography Club in Williamsburg. She loves to share her love of photos and birds, and hopes you will enjoy her presentation. And if you don't know, she was one of the ones that went out chasing the flamingo, right? And supposedly there's something coming out in the Washington Post about that.
They interviewed me today and they're supposed to be running it with my photos.
So they interviewed her today and sometime soon, we don't know.
Next week, he said.
Next week, it'll be in the Washington Post, so be on the lookout. And welcome, Barbara. Yay.
I just push the button to go, right?
Oh, yeah, just the end button when you're ready to go.
Okay. All right, we're
Yeah.
good. Okay, thank you. Okay, hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. So this is a presentation that I originally did for my photo club about taking pictures of birds. And I had several people that are in the photo club that said, yes, ma'am.
Could you get a little closer to the mic?
Okay. How about that? Is it better? Okay. And I had several people in my photo club say that would be great for the bird club. So here we are. So I picked 10 of my favorite places, and these are probably places that I go more often than any of the others. And they're places that are relatively close. I would say all of them are within an hour of my house, which I live in New Kent. So from Williamsburg, most of them will be closer. So, and as I said before, it's not all birds, but it's most of the birds. So here is the map, and I have the places numbered, but I'm not going to tell you what they are until I get to them. So the blue circle is where I live, and the red circle is where we are. So you can see where the places are in reference to where we are right now. So here we go. So my number one place where I spend more time than anywhere else is probably Harrison Lake. I live in New Kent and I work in Hopewell. So I ride up 106 going to work every day. And if I have time, Harrison Lake is a stop at least probably once a week, sometimes more. If it looks like it's going to be a good sunrise or something, I'll swing in there on the way to work. Well, when it's not dark. So if you haven't been, Harrison Lake is, it used to be a large fish hatchery, and now they've kind of transitioned over to, they do more mussels now than fish, but they have several great big ponds in the front side, and then the back side is a very large lake that I don't know, it's probably a mile long. It's a good sized lake. So as I said, it's a working fish hatchery, and it has fish rearing ponds, and they're using those now for mussels as well. So the gravel road, when you go in, you go to the left, and it's a mile down to the lake itself. So it's non-motorized boats only, and there's usually On the weekends, you'll have people fishing, but other than that, there's hardly ever anybody there, which is wonderful. So this is an aerial of the lakefront, looking at it from where you drive in. So you have the boat ramp. There's some benches set up down near the waterfront. You have a dock for the boats. There's a walkway that goes across a dam spillway. And then there's an island, or I guess it's an island with a walkway out to it as well. So these are some of the morning pictures that I have gotten there. This is actually a pano with my cell phone because I pulled my camera out to take pictures one afternoon and I forgot my battery. So this was a guy down there fishing and the clouds are really cool. So it made a nice pano with the cell phone. This is another one from a different angle. That's the little bridge that goes across the dam. And these are just some more different times of the year pictures. So birds at the lake. So the lake itself has a couple different places that are really good for birding activity. So I don't know what happened to my one there, but so the one is the actual boat ramp itself. And there's usually some grasses along the edge where the boats launch. And you'll have sometimes some Canada geese and a great blue heron or two, something like that. Number two there is the point that's on the left side of the boat ramp. And there's some trees to the left of that that are just loaded with all kinds of birds all the time. I mean, there's warblers and woodpeckers and you name it, depending on the time of the year, you can probably find it in there. So the dock is good for flyovers. You'll have eagles, ospreys, herons, kingfishers like to hang around there as well. So the dam is, you can walk across there and on both sides of there, you can find herons and shorebirds. They both really like the dam area where the water is flowing over and they'll be down along the bottom side of that. And the island itself is also good. The swallows and the kingfishers like to sit on the railings of the little docks out there. So they're good there as well. So these are some of the birds and waterfowl that I've gotten there. So we had the Canada geese, prothonotarians, they just love that area. White-eyed vireos. This was a barn swallow that had just fledged. It was the cutest little thing. Spotted sandpipers, Louisiana water thrush. And then we have critters that are at the lake as well. So there is a bunch of beavers in the lake, muskrats. The beavers like to hang out over to the left around, there's all kinds of lily pads and water flowers in there that they like to feed in. And then at the base of the dam, they have now put a den in there. And so they're always swimming back and forth going over to the dam so you can get good pictures of them swimming through the water there. And believe it or not, on the island, the deer like to hide on the island. So twice I've gone over to the island to take sunrise pictures and come up on a baby deer nestled down in the grasses over on the island. So this is one of the beavers. How do I make it?
I think it would just hit return again.
Oh, there we go. He's eating his ear of corn. And this is one of the muskrats that's there. This is at sunrise one morning. cute little hands. They're just as cute as they can be. More of the beaver swimming through. So the road to the lake is, it's great birding. There's a canal that runs all along the road from the lake all the way up to the office. And it's pretty much in shade most of the day. High noon, you'll have some light. So you'll need a higher ISO when you're photographing birds there, but there are a ton of birds in there. It's a really good place if you want to walk it. Like I said, it's a mile, but there's a couple different areas that are definitely more populated than others, but it's really good for all kinds of birds. So that was white-eyed vireos. They really like that area. Hooded warblers, summer tanagers, evening grosbeak, I got that this spring. Indigo buntings, ovenbirds, there was probably a dozen of them around the day I was there. It was really neat. And I had this as a yellow-breasted chat, but I was told that that's not what this is. What is it? Very good. I learned something from y'all today. Another white-eyed vireo eating the caterpillar. More white-eyed vireos. Gray catbird, indigo bunting. Red-headed woodpeckers. There's a couple dead trees that they inhabit. You pretty much year-round. They're always there, and they hang around constantly. Blue-gray gnatcatchers love that area all along the road. Louisiana water thrush. So then when you get back up to the front is where they have the fish rearing ponds. And it's a pretty big area. I would say it's probably 200 yards wide and maybe 150 yards deep. And there's, I think, 9 ponds. And they only have water in maybe 4 or 5 of them during the year. And this is an aerial just so you can see what it looks like. So if you're where the red line is, there is where the gate is, and it's all open. You can walk, you can't drive past the gate, but you can walk anywhere in there. So bluebirds galore. They have bluebird boxes everywhere, and they're just everywhere in there. And the good thing about the ponds is you're in the wide open, you have great light during the day. Northern Parulas like the area. All kinds of woodpeckers. Tons of flickers. They really like that area. The pine warblers are there. And this year the numbers are more than I've ever seen. There's just crazy how many of them are in there. Red-eyed vireos. There's a southern magnolia that's down near the gate. And that's the draw for the red-eyed vireos, and they love that tree. And especially when it starts to turn, you can just stand there and watch them and the bluebirds and all kinds of birds go in and out of that tree. Peewees, Carolina wrens. I think that's a summer tanager female. Hummingbirds. We have around the ponds, the common yellowthroats are popular in there, indigo buntings. And then we move on to Shirley Plantation. So if you go up Route 5, once you leave Harrison Lake, you'll turn right out of there onto Route 5, and it's maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles up, and you'll turn left onto 106, and then you turn right into Shirley Plantation. So birding by car only. It's all private land except for the roads into the plantation. The farmlands are active, so you'll have to watch out for tractors and trucks and that kind of thing. The eagles and hawks love that area. So I know there's at least 2 active eagle nests in the area on the road there at Shirley Plantation. Field birds, you never know what you're going to find. That's good. It's good for good place for sunsets. It gets some really cool sunsets in there. And on the road in, about 3/4 of the way down before you get to the plantation, they've just now put in a parking area that is documenting some kind of Civil War site. So there's a little parking area there where you can pull in, or you can look around there in the fields and the trees and such. So, the green areas that I have highlighted are my favorite areas. So the yellow line is the path that I take. So I turn in off of Route 106, turn to the right onto the gravel road. And then as soon as you get past the fence, you'll see a wooded area, and there's I guess you call it a stream that goes under the road, and there's water on both sides. And it's wooded right in there, and there's always all kinds of birds. And there's trumpet vines, so the hummingbirds are in there constantly, and you never know what you'll find in there. And then you go a little further down, and there's another wooded area that has a little stream that runs through it that's also quite populated with good birds. So this is a immature bald eagle that was sitting near the road one day when I went through. And they hang out in the fields. They will sit there and they love it. Red-tailed and red-shouldered hawks, they like to sit in the trees and look over the fields. We had a merlin in there, another bald eagle, and then these are some of the hummingbirds that I've gotten in there. The orchard orioles love those trumpet vines, so they'll come through there as well. Another hummingbird and a juvenile blue-gray gnatcatcher. This is a red-shouldered hawk that landed in this opening in the tree, which I thought was wonderful the way it was framed. And then he closed his eyes. Orchard orioles, males and females, you'll find in there. And at the right time of the year, after they've cut the fields, you'll find horned larks in there. They like to stay on the ground up near where the plantation is on that corner. You'll find them in that area up there. House finch was sitting on the sunflowers out in front of the plantation. They usually plant sunflowers and wildflowers. And I'll just sit there in the car and watch for the birds, and they just love the sunflowers, and you'll see quite a few different varieties in there. More bald eagles and vultures. There is an actual osprey pair that are nested in there. Mama didn't like me taking her picture. Sparrows, great blue herons, and then of course you have rabbits and the mourning doves. I've gotten an eastern towhee in there, prairie warbler, gray catbird, blue-gray gnatcatcher, juvenile blue-gray gnatcatcher with a moth, and a gray catbird juvenile. And then you have butterflies and dragonflies. They like the wildflowers that grow along the road. Indigo buntings like the area. Summer tanagers, great crested flycatcher. Another horned lark, green heron in there. And this was a nice surprise, a pair of peregrine falcons. So other places in Charles City, this is extra added, not included in the 10. Last year, I was going down Turkey Island Road to see if the snow geese had come in, and I fancied upon these 3 sandhill cranes. That was a nice surprise. Chickahominy Wildlife Management Area is good. The birding in there is on and off. When it's good, it's really good, but when it's not on, it's not good. So this is a sunrise there one morning. Juvenile hawk, I'm not sure what kind. Red-winged blackbirds and brown-headed cowbirds. Red-shouldered hawk, and immature bald eagle that was on the side of the road going after roadkill, and I pulled over and he flew right beside me. So off of Barnett's Road, which is one of the back roads, there's a water area, and I'm not sure what you call it, but it's really pretty when the sun is hitting it right. Berkeley Plantation is a good place to go. The trees going in and out of there have quite a few warblers, and at the right time of the year, you'll get some, what's the bird? Yeah, I forgot. It'll come to me in a minute. And then off of Route 5 as well. So the next area we're going to visit is called Malvern Hill, and it's a little further up Route 5. It's actually in considered to be in Henrico County. And it's maybe a mile and a half off of Route 5. And it's actually a national battlefield. So it's a great place for sunrises. I love the old farmhouse with the tree, and the sun comes up right behind it, so it makes for nice pictures. Especially when you have pretty sunrises. So there's a information kiosk in there, and the barn swallows have taken that over, and there's maybe 12 nests in there that are up on the beams on the up underneath the roof there. And they always have tons of kids. It's just crazy. But they're really pretty little birds. The kestrels like to hang around the field there. They'll sit on the cannons that are out there. And they actually, I don't know if y'all know Parks Roundtree, but he put a kestrel box in there this past spring, and it was actually used, and that's the first time over there that they've used it. So that was good. So you can see the kestrel on the cannons. And then if you walk around, there's some flowers and some bushes, and you'll see different kinds of birds and bugs and butterflies and groundhogs. And I like this one because the meadowlark is looking at him like, yo. Neither one cared about the other one, so the next place is called Chamberlain Marsh, and if you didn't know it was there, you would never know it was there. It is in the middle of an industrial section. It's right off of 295. If you go 295 north, right before you get to 95, and you exit onto Chamberlain Avenue, and it's right there, and it's in the middle of an industrial section, and it's just this great big marshy area. It's got tons of dead trees, and it's just, you never know what you're going to find there. And it's really a neat place. And I mean, there's not a whole lot of walking. It's all standing around looking and waiting for things to happen type of thing. So you can see on the right is a picture of the pond from the air, or the water area. I don't know that you'd call it a pond, but it's right there off of Rich Food Road. So this is what it looks like standing on the road. So it is an industrial area. It's a limited viewing area. It is a night roosting place for egrets. If you're there after, say, I don't know, maybe a half hour before sunset, you can see them start coming in, and I've counted as many as 100 in there at one time. This is also a place where the anhingas come for the summer. For probably the last 10 to 12 years, we've had at least 1 pair to 3 pair in there that hang around during the summertime. It's also a nesting place for green herons. And I know that there was at least this year 3 different nesting pair, and all 3 pair had at least 4 chicks. So it's very, very good location. If you're birding, you will need binoculars. If you're photographing, you'll need a longer lens. Occasionally you do get stuff up close, but for the most part, it's going to be a long lens away. It's best to visit it on the weekends because it is in an active industrial area, and during the week, there'll be traffic going all through there. It made the headlines on the Facebook world, so people know it's there, so there will be other people there now. And it's best to shoot in the morning because you have the light behind you. In the evening, you're looking right into the sun, so it makes it hard to get photos or to see clearly. So this is one of the early morning, this is actually early morning when I got there just before sunrise. You can see how many were in there at the time. And this was the Anhingas this year. So I think we had 3 this year. Very cool to have them in Virginia. This is the greenies. So the one in the back is mom, who was trying to get away from her kids and had gone over to this spot. And this other adult came in and she let him know that was her tree. So if you look on the picture on the left, mom is at the top. And if you look in the bottom left corner, you can see the nest with the chicks. So she had 4 chicks this year. And the picture on the right, you can see 3 of the 4 chicks sitting in the nest while she's standing guard. So this is them attacking her when she came in to feed them. This is them, they were a little younger then and they weren't quite as active going after mother. So this is after they've started moving around, and you can see the one on the right has gotten up there next to mother. So this one, she was sitting on the tree when the juvenile flew over and she elected to leave. He was not happy. So then the other juvenile flew in and they're like, Mom, where are you? And these are just some more of the greenies up close. So you also have lots of great blue herons in there. Had a lot of juveniles in there this year, which was good to see, and eastern kingbirds, and they nest in that area too. So you'll have juvenile kingbirds in there as well. The flickers like the area. You'll always have egrets in there. And there's osprey and bald eagles. And then of course you have lots of turtles. And I had a hummingbird land in front of me this year too. That was pretty cool. I never knew their tongue was that long. We had a hawk land there this year. We were taking pictures and everything went quiet. The birds all shut up and disappeared. And then we figured out why, because this hawk had flown in and landed above us. Have bald eagles. So when we leave there, we'll go back down 295 and go off on Route 10 and go to Henricus Park. You might know it as Dutch Gap. It can be very good. This year, the water kind of dried up in there, so it was not as good as in prior years, but it's a good place, and it's one of those you never know what you're going to get cut kind of places. So when you come in on the main road, you'll have 2 pull-offs where you can park, and they have viewing platforms. But if you go down to the end and park, you can walk this massive trail, and you can see on the map around the outer edge. And I think it's one of the trails where you walk to the end and walk back, but it's like 6 miles. I mean, it's a good hike if you want to really go walking. So the park there is open daily. It's gated and usually opens around 7:30 in the morning. There's 2 viewing platforms, and then they now have added a floating dock as well where you can walk out onto the water. They have a parking area at the visitor center that has access to the restrooms and to the historical part of the park. And then the walking trails are behind the visitor center. You can also walk behind the historical part and out onto the bluff, which overlooks the James River. And from there, you can see the Varina-Enon Bridge at the river. And if you exit the park to take a right out of there, you go down to the boat landing, which is, you're up close to the river there. And eagles, osprey, lots of vultures down that way. So ringneck ducks are something that really like to hang out in that area. And then the Canada goose, and do you see the Wilson snipe? When they're there, and they're everywhere. So the American widgeons, the pintails, more Wilson snipes, ringnecks, and a gadwall, all probably in the same day. So more pintails, northern shovelers like the area to hang out in there. Wood ducks. And there's a osprey nest opposite the first platform, and the bald eagle likes to take that over every now and again. The Canada geese like to have their babies in there, so they'll be in there swimming around with their babies. More Wilson snipe. So if you go down past the second platform to the floating dock area, there's a wooded area in between the parking lot and the wood and the floating dock. And it's a wooded area, and it's just loaded with birds. It's a really good place. So you have golden crown kinglets, yellow-bellied sapsuckers, downy woodpeckers, red-shouldered hawk, swamp sparrow, a muskrat, and we actually got an owl in there as well. So the Canada babies will be all around there if they have a good year, and they'll be in the grasses along the side of the road. So then the road down towards the marsh, you have opportunities for all kinds of different birds. So this is Carolina wren, yellow-bellied sapsucker, northern parula, pileated woodpeckers, eastern wood peewees, northern mockingbirds, brown thrashers, and the barred owl that we were lucky to get. And he was sitting there just at the edge of the water and, you know, oblivious to us who were trying to take his picture. So then you go down to the boat landing. So of course there's tons of squirrels and there's wild cats, and they are fed by somebody. I mean, some of the locals come in there and bring them food, so they're always around. And there's tons of black vultures. And if you go there and you park at the boat landing, be prepared to have black vultures on your vehicle, because they will take it over. So then on the main road in is a good place for kestrels. They like to hang around on the poles out there around the Dominion Power and on the fences coming in. And the tree swallows also like that area. So now we're going to move to Deep Bottom, which is up off of Route 5. It's just after the Charles City line, so it's in Henrico as well. So there's a boat landing there that's got several boat ramps, and it's got a nice pier where you can walk out on. It has restrooms, water fountains. It has a kayak launch area that is separate from the boat launch area. It has a walking trail that goes along the creek. And on the road in, they've now added what's called the Varina Land Lab. And it has 3 different parking areas and kiosks where you can park, and they have trails on all 3 that go through various different habitats. It has grasses, and it has trees, and it has water. And so it's really good. I haven't done them all. They just opened it this year. So I've been through the parking areas, but I haven't done the trails yet. But I have done along the road, and along the road has been wonderful. So on the map, you can see 4 is where the boat landing is. So 1, 2, and 3 are the new kiosks that they've put in. So there's 2 on the left side and 1 on the right side as you come into Deep Bottom. So this is one of the kiosks that they've put in. And each kiosk has the map for that area's trails. So we had yellow-breasted chats in there that were just really cool. They were not shy. Blue-gray gnatcatchers like to hang out there. Prairie warblers everywhere along the road. It's a very They just planted recently pine trees, so they're maybe 2 or 3 years old, so they're still relatively small, and the birds like to sit in the very top, which is at the perfect level to take a picture. This is down at the boat landing. So one morning we got there and there was this tree that was just loaded with the starlings. Prothonotary warblers love the area down around the boat ramp. And they will pose nicely for you. Butterflies down there as well. So this is one morning we were there to go out on the boat and we had this sunrise and it was amazing. It's a good place for sunrises. The tree swallows, if you walk the creek trail, the tree swallows fight the prothonotaries for the boxes. So you'll have both of them along the trail. Indigo buntings, tree swallows, and tons of prothonotaries. So the trail is maybe, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 mile long, and it's just an out and back type trail. And when you get down to the very end, there is a bald eagle's nest to the across the creek there from you. Snakes, lots of snakes in there. And the piebald deer I got on the road in. So now we're gonna leave Route 5 area and we're gonna head over to the east and we're gonna go to Matthews to Bethel Beach. So Bethel Beach is a natural preserve area. And it's one of my favorite places to go down there. It's one of those places where you never know what you're gonna see. I will say though, that the last nor'easter that came through, it tore the hook off. And so you can't walk around to the backside anymore unless you want to get wet. So, whoops. So the area is in the middle of nowhere. There's no restrooms, there's no trash receptacles. It's just a drive-in, park, and take pictures type place. Some people go down there and they fish, but they're the only other people you'll see down there. So this is just sunrise getting there one morning. This is what you see when you drive up. So the biggest population you'll probably find down there is clapper rails, and they're there and you'll hear them. They're everywhere. They're quite vocal. So this is mama with her babies. And the osprey like the area as well. There's a couple dead trees. After you cross the little bridge, there's a couple dead trees there and the osprey will hang out there. And they're not shy. On that picture on the left, he's chewed the head off and you can see the eggs all over the branch from where it blew up when he popped it. Great blue herons are all over down there. They're not shy either. Great egrets, royal terns. We've got mute swans down there. Willets, tons of sanderlings. They like it. Low tide is the best time to go when the grasses are exposed and you have better luck with the shorebirds. Short-billed dowitcher last time we were down there, Dunlin. And when you could get around to the hook side, it was a great place for black-bellied plovers. You wouldn't find them anywhere else in the area, but they would be there. And I would just go and sit, and they eventually ignore you and they'll come right up, you know, within picture distance of you. They're a really cool bird. Semi-palmated plovers, same thing. They're populous down there. Ready turnstones, the black skimmers, when the season is right, you'll have them in there. They like to hang on the inside where the shallower water is. We had a marbled godwit there earlier this year. We have song sparrows. We had a merlin, so he's looking at the sparrows for his lunch. Prairie warblers, in the wooded area before you get down to the beach, they hang out in there. We had them and brown-headed nuthatches as well. And we have occasionally gotten the common yellow-throat in there. Blue grosbeaks, yellow warbler, brown-headed nuthatch, seaside sparrows. And we had this earlier in the spring, a diamondback terrapin up on the roadway. So when you're at Bethel Beach, after you parked, when you come out, the road makes a Y, and if you hang a right and go down in there, which is also part of the refuge, it's a heavily wooded area, and there's really good birds along there, especially when they're migrating through. It's just filled with birds. You can go maybe 150 yards down in there before you get to a house, so you have to turn around in the road. But if you're looking for doing birding, that's a good place to go. So next we have Poquoson. So Poquoson is much closer to Williamsburg than everything else so far. So there are several good spots in Poquoson for birding and photography. The main spot we go is Messick Point. It's a boat landing. There's a marina there. They have restrooms. It's a nice little spot. It's at the very end of Messick Road. So if you just keep going, you'll run into it. When you hit the Bill Forrest Seafood, from that point down is where you'll be doing the majority of your birding. It's good at both low and high tides, but I would say low tide is probably better. On the weekends, you will have to put up with the boat traffic, the people coming down to launch their boats. It can be quite busy there. And in the off season, in the colder months, you have it to yourself. There won't be anybody down there, so it's nice. And in the mornings, if you're trying to shoot the marshy area, you will be shooting into the sun. The great blue herons don't care. You can walk right up to them and pet them. They're just that close. So you'll have them hanging out in the grasses near the boat landing. They'll be up sitting on the crab pots that the fishermen have sitting up there. And this is also a really good place for rails, especially when the tide is out. You can see the mama here with her babies. They're just as cute as they can be. So then the marshy area there is another one that you never know what you're going to get. I mean, I've been down there and had absolutely nothing. And then you go and there'll be 500 birds in there. So I haven't figured out yet what the driving factor is for the birds to be there. But it's just dumb luck, I guess, and you get what you get. So the yellowlegs like the area. And I'm not sure what that one is on the right.
Lower right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Dowager, cool. Yellow crowned night herons like to hang out there. If you're going down past the marina on the right-hand side, there's a little inlet and a ditch there, and it's got a dead tree, and you're looking at Langley Air Force Base, and that whole area in there is where the night herons like to hang out. So this is in that area, this is the night heron fishing. You can see he was concerned with us. The bald eagles like to hang out there. We had this gorgeous subadult down there last year that was just beautiful. I just love the markings on this one. And you can see that the nails they put in to deter them did a lot of good. Green herons you'll have down there occasionally. Is that a yellow-billed cuckoo? Okay, I got that one right. Eastern meadowlark, we've had those down there. Ruddy turnstones are usually down there along the dock and the parking area. And then you'll have your swallowtails on the wildflowers down there. The common grackles like to hang out around the fish pots or crab pots. You have terns and your gulls. And then more yellow-crowned night herons. And cormorants will be down there around the boat launch area. So if you leave out of Messick Point, when you get up to the main road, if you go to the left and then go to the end of that road, that is the Thomas Jefferson Rollins Nature Area, which is a relatively new, they've put it in the last couple, it's been there, but they actually made it a nature area in the last couple years. It has really good views of the marsh and good activity most of the time. So it's at the end of Pocosin Avenue. It has both open water and a marshy area. It's good at both low and high tide. It can be busy on the weekends and there's no restrooms. And in the morning, you're shooting into the sun if you're trying to shoot the terns and gulls that are out on the poles. And there's also rails down there. This was a juvenile that we sat with for maybe 30 minutes, and it had a feather stuck on its bill, and then it would try to get it off with its foot, and then it would get stuck on its foot, and then it would try to get it off its foot, and it gets stuck back on its bill, and it was quite fun to watch. The bald eagles like to hang out in the trees down there near the point. You have your marshy sparrows, seaside sparrows. The terns love the poles that are out there. The dunlin and the clapper rails like both sides of the land down there. Green herons, bald eagles. The picture on the right is a clapper rail and a green heron. And until I saw them together, I would always think the clapper rail was the smaller of the two, but you can really tell the difference with the picture there. The great egrets. And the last time we were down there, we had a guy fly over in one of those propeller parachute things. I don't know what you call them. And it spooked a bunch of birds that came up out of there. And there was all these tricolor herons in there, which is the first time that I'd seen those down there. And those birds you see all the time because Langley is right beside you. So now we're going to leave there and we're going to go to Fort Monroe. So Fort Monroe is probably my go-to place other than Harrison Lake. If I have time, I'm going to go to Fort Monroe. Fort Monroe has so many different habitats and opportunities for birds of all kinds. So it's great for birding and photography. They have restrooms there. It's usually not crowded except during the summer months. A large variety of birds. You'll have shorebirds, waterfowl, raptors, all kinds of different things. You have many different types of habitats, and you're mostly birding by car, and then you'll get out to walk and investigate, different places around there. So the water's edge is the first place we will go. So when you drive in, you stay to the right and you go to the end of the road until it has a 90-degree turn, but you go straight and you're at the Chamberlain there. And that area there is a walkway that goes from there all the way down along the water's edge. So there's rocks in front of the walkway, and you'll always find some kind of birds, ducks, critters. You never know what you're going to find on the rocks. And there is a couple pound poles out there right off the Chamberlain that are usually populated with cormorants and gulls and sometimes herons as well. So these are some of the birds that we've got walking along the wall there. So we've got dunlin, the ruddy turnstones, sanderlings, loons like the area down there. This is a loon with a flounder, little baby flounder. And in the cold weather months, it's one of those places where you never know what you're gonna find. And this is cool, you know? Oh. Mm-hmm. No, it's wrong way. You go the wrong way?
I have to go on.
I went the wrong way.
Okay.
Here we go, right there, yeah, okay. Sorry about that. So this is the razor bill, the surf scoter, the horned grebe, and the razor bill again. This was in the winter time. Another cormorant eating another fish. This is a American oyster catcher. The top right is one of the babies sitting there waiting for mama to bring her something. Spotted sandpiper, brown pelicans, laughing gulls, dolphins, all seen from the wall there. It's a great place for sunrises. If you go down a little further, there's a big parking area where you can go to park so you can get down to the sandy beach part, and it's good for sunrise. So if you go to the north side, it's less visited by people. You have access to both the creek and the bay sides, and it's good for osprey and herring activity. And not this year, but year before, it had the foxes there as well. So you have the osprey fishing in the shallow waters. And then they have probably 8 or 10 nests down there in Fort Monroe where they will have their young during the year. Had killdeer with their babies. Yellow-crowned night herons with an eel. Terns, black skimmers. More yellow-crowned night herons. The meadowlarks like to hang out in the grasses down by the campground. You'll find them down there. We got a yellow warbler over up towards the main gate over just in the bushes on the side of the water. Great crested flycatcher hanging out in one of the trees. Kingbirds, killdeer, more osprey, great blue herons, bald eagles. And this past year, the great blue herons have started a nesting area down by the campground. So they're at the top of the trees. And there's like 3 or 4 nests that you can see. It's really cool to be able to see them. So the center of the fort is probably a place that no birders go to. But if you can find the right spot, it's the best part of the park. And I didn't know about it until last year when a fellow photographer shot me a picture of a nest. And I'm like, where are you? And we went down the next day and it was amazing what we found. So what do you think the highest population of birds is in Fort Monroe? Or I should say of nesting birds in Fort Monroe. Yellow-crowned night herons, which I had no idea. So once we found them though, it's amazing to see how many of them there are down there. This picture is a Cooper's hawk with his leftover breakfast. So the night herons are nested in the trees that are along the road where the all of the people live on the road going through through the middle of the park there. And last year we probably had, I think one day we had over almost 40 yellow-crowned night herons that we counted. And this year we had gone down there and the nests were all being built. And then we had one of these bad storms come through and it tore down most all the nests. So the quantity of nests this year was much lower than what we've had in the past. But you can see in the upper right, upper left-hand corner, that's 3 of the chicks, Larry, Moe, and Curly. So this is Cooper's hawks. And for probably 3 years in a row, we've been able to locate the adults with their chicks. And they've had 4 chicks for 2 years in a row now. So they hang out pretty much in the same area. And I haven't found the nest, but I know it's there because that's where they hang out, but I haven't been able to find it yet. So the top left is one of the chicks going after a squirrel. He wasn't very successful. And then the lower ones are them feeding on something that mama bought them. So we'll leave there and we'll go to Phoebus Waterfront Park. So when you come out of Fort Monroe, if you go to the left and exit that way, as soon as you go around the curve, you'll turn right into the parking area for Phoebus Waterfront Park. It's this just a little dock area that's a boat launch area for kayaks and that kind of thing. But if you hit it right, it's really good. You can get real up close to the birds, so it's good for cameras. You don't need your binoculars or anything. You can practice your in-flight birds. It's a good place for that. The light in the morning, you're shooting into the sun, so it's better in the afternoons. It's a very small parking area, so if it's a fishy kind of day and there's lots of people fishing, you might not be able to park in there. So this is sitting beside you when you walk out onto the dock. They're very pretty. And then you have all kinds of terns and gulls. So these are the 10 places that we visited. So hopefully you learned something about places and where you want to go next. And that's the end. Any questions?
Yeah, how about some questions?
Yes, ma'am. Shirley?
You back when you were talking about Shirley Plantation and driving down that entrance road, said burden by car only, but is it possible to stop and walk? Or do they don't want you?
Can you repeat questions for the Zoom?
Oh, okay. Shirley's question is at Shirley Plantation, if you can stop and walk. I mean, you probably can. I mean, there's no signs that say you can't. You just might have to put up with traffic. I wouldn't go off the road. I mean, I could walk, you walk along the edge of the road or whatever. But yeah, especially that area up by the front where the creek goes underneath the road. It's a really good area there. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed on the Pocosin map, there were 2 seafood restaurants. I'm wondering if you like either one.
I've never eaten at either one, so. Well, one of them I think is just to go in and buy it and leave. They don't actually cook it there, so. But they're busy, so somebody must like it. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So your photos, it makes it look like you just go out and you get these birds. And we all know that it's just not that easy. How long do you spend? I mean, for instance, the green heron nest at the Chamberlain Swamp, to see those, how long did it take you to get the picture that you want?
Well, like at Chamberlain, so we had gone by there and we had seen them and then we knew they were there. So I think we probably went like 5 weekends in a row. We went up there every Saturday morning at sunrise, waiting to see something happen and to get the pictures. But usually, if we go somewhere, we'll go 1 to 2 hours. We don't spend all day there. So
Amazing what you get.
it's being at the right place at the right time. Yeah.
One other question. So for every 50 pictures you take, how many do you tend to keep? And what's your?
So I converted over to mirrorless last year. So I'm shooting with R6 and R7 and R6 II, and it's like 30 frames per second. So I push the button one time and I get 30 pictures. So, you know, hopefully one of those will be something that is usable. So thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a chat, there's some wonderful comments in chat.
Oh, good.
Everybody amazed. Over how many years have you accumulated these shots?
Well, these were all from probably the last year. Some of them might have been from last summer, but most of them were from this year. Yeah.
Do you use a tripod or mostly handheld?
I never use a tripod. I will use handheld, or I'll use a tree to brace myself, or a fence post or something, but never a tripod.
What's your longest lens?
I have got the Canon 800mm RF f11 lens, and I use that for my birding probably 90% of the time. It's great. The only bad part is it's f11, so you have to make sure you have good light. But it's worth it. I love it. Did you have any others? Okay. Well, thank y'all.
So we want to stop. Screen share, right? Okey-doke. Well, that was brilliant, and it makes me want to throw away my camera. And I also know that it's just not that easy to get all these fabulous photos that, I mean, your work is just magnificent, and really appreciate it. And your landscapes are gorgeous too. I mean, I thought I was going to be here to watch all the birds, but your landscapes, the clouds and things are just really remarkable. So thank you so much. I just have a few announcements. This first up is Saturday is our Eastern Shore field trip. And fortunately, the weather forecast has gotten better every day. And I believe we're going to have a beautiful day. We have Deborah Humphreys, who's going to be our leader and sort of escort us around some spots on the Eastern Shore. We will start at the overview, the scenic overview that's on the far side of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel at roughly 8:30. And it'll kind of develop as we go. We'll let Deborah kind of guide us along. And there is carpooling if people would like to carpool. George Martin has sent out several emails about this trip. So go back to your emails if you will. If you have questions or you can't find it, shoot me an email and I'll connect you up with George if you're interested in carpooling. We do go across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, so there is a toll. So if you have Easy Pass, please bring that. We will go into Kiptopeke State Park. There's an entry fee for that. So if you have a state park pass, bring that along. Otherwise, I believe it's $7 a car. We will stop at the refuge, wildlife refuge. We will stop at the Kiptopeke State Park, the Hawk platform, and I believe maybe a walk down to the pond, perhaps. Deborah will be guiding us along. She'll know where all the birds are, so we're just going to follow along. So that's Saturday, and I think, oh yeah, if you were going to carpool, if you're interested in carpooling, meet at Colony Square just a little after 7. But if you're planning on doing that, please let George know ahead of time so he knows to wait for you. Oh yeah, and for those who would like to stay, I think I know there'll be at least some of the crowd will want to go to the brewery at Cape Charles for lunch. Very nice lunch spot. Let's see, our next bird walk is October 28th at New Quarter Park at 8 o'clock. We will have some visitors from Cape Henry Audubon joining us that day. So that should be a fun one. Our November meeting, we will be back at Quarter Path Rec Center. Again, thank you for your patience as we kind of swing back and forth. We're trying to put together our locations. I think come January, we'll be doing a better job in staying in one location. But, and everything will come out in an email, so don't have to remember it all right now, but we will be back at Quarter Path for November. And we have Rexanne Bruno, who is going to tell us all about Christmas bird count. A really important activity that we participate in. And she is the state compiler, so she knows it inside and out. She'll give us the background, the status of it, how to participate. So that'll be a lot of fun. That will be November. We'll also have our election of the board that night. The slate, I believe, went out in the October newsletter. Is that right? I think everybody's seen the slate. So we'll have our official election that night. And our November field trip will be back to a very popular place, Grandview Nature Preserve. That's always a good one. Hopefully the winter ducks will be starting to arrive. And I believe Michelle Gianvecchio is going to lead that one of our new members. Excellent birder, outstanding birder. The deadline for the November newsletter is October 27th. So please feel free to send in pictures of flamingos, maybe, or anything else that you've seen, or places you've been, or books you've read, or whatever you have. November will be our last newsletter until January. We do take a break in December. We will not have a meeting or a newsletter in December. So November is the last one for just a little bit. And we'll have a bird walk in December, but we don't have official field trip because we do Christmas bird count. And that is all I have, I believe. Anybody have any announcements or questions or thoughts? Patty, you have any board members have anything? Okay, anybody out in Zoom land have anything to offer? Deborah, you have anything you want to say about, no, she's shaking her head. I will say at the Hawk Watch today, two big things happened. One, there was a rough-legged hawk, which is a pretty big deal. And the other is that Andrew, our monarch biologist, tagged his 600th monarch. And he's going strong, and I'm negligent. I only ordered 600 tags. I thought that would keep him busy. And he's an overachiever in anybody's book. So he can use some of our old tags if he wants to keep it going. But Hawkwatch is barreling along. We're having a really, really great year. So hopefully on Saturday, the birds will be flying and we'll get to see them. So if nothing else, that's a quick meeting, nothing else from Zoom land. So I would say thank you all for coming. Thanks for coming in person. Thank you so much, Barbara. That was just a brilliant presentation. We all learned, I definitely learned the ins and outs of a lot of fun places to go. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in and thanks for coming. Right.